Hey there, survivors, how's it going? I'm your host Douglas here at Drownboy Productions, bringing you another Trick or Treat Studios product review. And it's time that we've taken a step away from the dark, dreary world of Saw into something a bit more fun and lighthearted with The Shining. Today we're going to be continuing our journey taking a look at many different Trick or Treat Studios masks and products this season by taking a look at a piece from one of my favorite films and just one of the most influential horror films of all time, The Shining. Between Terrifier and Saw, everything that we've been taking a look at recently is all about torture. But today, no, this is all about pleasure. The Shining is a well-loved classic with many iconic things in it. However, one of the things that it kind of lacks is a lot of iconic props or costumes. For the most part, people are dressed like average people. And as far as props, there are a few notable ones. One of the main ones, of course, is the axe. The scene of Jack cutting through that door has been replicated and referenced in so many different pieces of media, it's insane. But other than the axe and the dress that the Grady twins are wearing, there aren't really too many pieces that work well as prop or costume replicas, other than what we're taking a look at today. Today I'm very excited to announce that we're taking a look at one of my favorite pieces from The Shining, although it's not in the movie for that long, the Roger the Dogman mask. Oh, what can be said about this scene that won't get me demonetized? For those of you who are fans of The Shining, this is definitely an iconic, super recognizable piece, although it's in the movie for a very, very small amount of time, only a few frames. But I'll tell you, those few frames are all it takes to leave the impact that it does. The mask is used in the film for a few brief moments where you see someone giving fellatio wearing this mask, and they turn and look at the camera, and so does the person receiving. That's it. That's its only importance. There's no real deeper meaning, unless you want to get into like symbolism and metaphors there, but we're not diving into all that. We're here to talk about the mask in particular. First of all, of course, the sculpt. The sculpt looks pretty darn good. Yet again, you only see this thing for a few brief moments, but there are some pictures of the screen-used mask out there, and they did a pretty darn good job sculpturally. It definitely looks like a vintage mask of the era. And for the paint job, the same thing can be said. It has a quick, vintage style paint up, where it's a little bit messy, a little bit sloppy in certain places, but that would fit a mass-produced vintage mask of the era. If I had any personal critiques with the paintwork, it would be that maybe they went a little bit too heavy with the blue on the eyes, but that is such a minimal thing, and this is a mass-produced piece. Personally, I think they nailed it. Now, if you want to take a closer look around the mouth area, they didn't add any gross details, and also, there's no hole for the mouth, so don't go getting any ideas, unless you want to get crafty with a pair of scissors. But as for the paintwork on the mouth, there's actually quite a bit of layering done here. There's pink for the gums, the teeth are painted white over that, the tongue itself is pretty bright red, of course black on the inside of the mouth, and then brown lips here. So really most of the complex paint work was put in on the mouth, and I guess they weren't the only ones putting in work on that mouth. Now as for the furry hat part here, this is actually put directly on top of the latex mask itself, so this is not a separate piece that is stitched onto the mask. There is latex underneath all of this. You can see it pretty well right here. I think the ears do look pretty good, and I don't think the placement looks bad on the mask itself just for being a mask, but if you're going for accuracy, the ears are definitely more on top of the head. But yeah, the templated fur piece does wrap all the way under the chin, all the way around the head, and then the ears are separate and they're just nice floppy ears. Now personally, I would see this more as a collector's piece, but if for whatever reason you were putting a full Roger the Dogman costume together, or you just had interest in wearing this anywhere else in life, I guess I'll go ahead and tell you a bit more about the comfort levels. It does have some nice nose holes for ventilation, and they actually punched square holes into the mouth for ventilation instead of cutting out the mouth to have a full hole there, which I think is kind of funny. And as for visibility, there are two tiny holes on either side of the pupil here on the mask itself, so you can see out of it. I would be willing to guess that's going to give you pretty limited visibility. But yet again, personally, I would see this more as a replica piece that you put on the shelf rather than something you wear, but hey, what you guys do in your free time is none of my business. We reached the point in the video where I like to read you all the excerpt directly from the Trick or Treat Studios website, so let's go ahead and have a look. Here we have The Shining Roger the Dogman mask for $63.99. Very odd, very specific price. Sculpted by Megan Minnie. Trick or Treat Studios is proud to present the officially licensed The Shining Roger the Dogman mask. Sculpted based on hundreds of images of the actual screen-used mask, this is the ultimate replica of Roger the Dogman with every detail represented. Get yourself The Shining Roger the Dogman mask this Halloween. Well, there you have it. Yet again, this is a very niche collectible, but for Shining fans, it's a very recognizable one, and I'm definitely happy to have it in the collection. If you're interested in picking these up, $63.99 is a very odd, very specific price. It's the weirdest price I've seen on any Trick or Treat Studios product, but not because it's too much or like too little, it's just a weird number. Regardless, I don't think it's a terrible price for this mask if you're interested in adding one to your collection. Another thing worth mentioning that many of you may remember, this mask was actually produced many years ago, and they ceased production of them shortly after they started. So not many of them made it out there, and I actually missed out on the initial run, but they did recently bring them back. However, since they have brought them back, they are completely sold out. So I would recommend you to go ahead and pick these up directly from Trick or Treat Studios' website, but it looks like you may have to find one from one of the many retailers that offers their products. And with that being said, I think that about does it for today's video. I love you all. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Stay tuned for some more videos coming very soon, and I'll see you next time.